So, hey guys, welcome back to Ponderings from Palm Coast. I'm Mark Webb, and as promised, my hope, and I'm working hard at trying to bring the candidates that you will be voting on in the upcoming election so that they can share with you their thoughts and beliefs and understandings. So today, for the second time, I have Raymond Royer, who is a candidate for County Commissioner District 2. Raymond, thanks for coming, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you come back. Some exciting things have been going on. You met your petition drive.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess, does that make you official?
Yes, I'm on the ballot for November.
You're on the ballot. And the reason that it's important to take away November, because we've been pushing the primary, why are you not on a primary in August?
State law does not require anybody that's an independent, infiliated party member cannot be on the primary. So I can't even vote as an independent in the primaries unless I change my party to a Democrat Republican. So it's a two-party close system, basically.
So you're running as an independent. What's that like?
I'm glad I stayed as an independent. I'm getting very warm responses out of the broad parties. Broad. There's a lot of independent parties. There's a lot of moderates, warm reception from moderates from both sides, Democrat and Republican. When they ask me what my party affiliation is, where I lean, I tell them I'm a moderate. Most of them that are moderates want to sign immediately. They love the fact that I am just down the road in the middle and not going far right and not going far left. And then I explained to them when I voted for my first president and joined the Navy, it was Ronald Reagan. Well, Ronald Reagan had probably the most moderates at the time before we did go far right and far left. And that was both parties. And then he got a lot of bipartisan bills.
Well, and I think I respect you for deciding to go in that direction and understanding that your views and beliefs are important. And I think in today's political world, all the time, we see Republicans turning Democrat, Democrats turning Republican, being elected and showing up, and they're nothing like what they said they were going to do. But you've chosen to stand your ground.
Yes.
And I think in time, we're seeing, at least I'm hoping, that this middle of the road, independent, where you could take the goodness or what the citizens need without really being loyal or confirmed by one policy over another. Speaking of policies, since we last talked, have you kind of polished and cleaned up, and you have a kind of a goal or a view and what you think you're going to be able to bring when you get elected?
Yes. The number one thing I'm hearing out there going door to door is the growth. So that will be probably my number one, because that's probably 80% of my conversations. People are just tired of the growth. And then I explore and areas in Florida. There's a lot of areas in Florida that are tired of the growth. 10% of my petitions are probably from people from South Florida that moved here in Palm Coast 13 years ago, and they're very upset. So they're talking as a couple to possibly moving out, completely out of Florida, because they left South Florida to get here, and they thought, okay, this is what we're looking for: small charm county, small town charm, and not as much traffic. And now it's playing the same role, and they've seen that same role play out in South Florida, and now they're revisiting it again.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a constant chase, because you find a great place like people did here in Palm Coast, and I know you've been here for a while, and it was that sweet spot. It was comfortable and affordable and simple, and then now it's not.
Yeah, it was keeping a secret.
For a lot of reasons. Yeah. So, how are you? How do you think you're going to be able to effectively put your thumb on the growth issue as a county commissioner?
Well, I'm hoping to work across the aisle with the other districts and work with their problems. Right now, I am actually petitioning in Palm Coast outside my district too, because this is actually an open vote. So this is not just a strict district vote. So, but by visiting these areas in Palm Coast with other candidates that are running those districts from the county side, it just shocks me that there's a huge issue with drainage. I just can't believe how really bad it really is until you really go out there and go door to door and go to these different areas like the Alphabets here in Palm Coast. It's just amazing how the drainage system really is built. One gentleman showed me where the water goes down his street, goes to a simple canal, and then I asked him a question. Well, where's the canal go? Does it go to the intercoastal? He says no, it just dead ends. So I asked him, was that water build up? And he goes, oh yeah, come around here in September, and you'll see the flooding issues we have. So that's concerning. Like they're not, that's been a problem for decades now, and it just seems like we move on to new construction, and we're not taking care of our own old problems. When you buy a new home, before you step in that new home, you do a punch list. That wall's not the color I want it. That's not the door I want it, and you have a punch list. Well, the city and the county is failing on that end. I was at the District 4 meeting, and it blew my mind when this little old lady explained that she's been waiting for her road to be paved for 50 years. 50 years.
So she's an incorporated
She's
county?
incorporated, but those roads were supposed to be paved, and then it was funny because when the engineer went to talk to her and found out it was 50 years, he had really no answer, because if he doesn't get the money to really pave it, and what they're doing out there right now is they're resurfacing roads and everything else. And I believe what they're doing is they're paying more attention to these roads because the growth is moving out there now. So everything outside on the west side of Route 1 is now, that's going to be the new area for Palm Coast, excuse me, to grow. So that being said, I think that's why they're repaving roads and stuff like that, getting ready for the new housing development out in that area. That's going to be the new push, and that whole suburban feel out there is going to change probably in the next decade or so. So it's going to be more traffic out that way.
Yeah. It's funny. I was talking to you recently and trying to get my mind around the interaction between the city, which is like almost 80% of the county of Flagler County, and then you have Bunnell, and you have some of the smaller cities around there. So there's like less than 30,000 people that live in unincorporated, the county of Flagler County. How do you see the budget? And I know we've heard a lot of talking about the budget and expenditures of the county from state auditors and others, and it's just an ongoing conversation. But it amazes me when I see that the millage rate, which is the amount you pay, part of your property taxes, as it is today, is higher than the city by quite a bit.
Yes, it is.
To service the 20,000, 30,000 unincorporated. And yet, as you were saying, the unincorporated group is complaining about feeling like with the sheriff's department, how far and away Palm Coast probably absorbs 80% of the budgetary needs of the county sheriff's department on the expenditure side. So how do you get your mind around all of that in interacting with Palm Coast and the other cities as a county commissioner?
Yeah, I was just attended the sheriff's meeting that he had this past week, and He didn't really touch much base on the budget, but then when he talked about the helicopter program that he's going to bring in, it was nice. Yes, we got donations and stuff like that. But I asked the question, what would the maintenance cost would be? He said it's going to be about $250,000. But I've been
Is
talking
that
to a lot.
annually?
Annually, yes. So I've been talking to individuals that worked on helicopters, are actually mechanics. I actually met a gentleman that actually was a sheriff down in Miami that have 6 helicopters. Now Miami can absorb that cost, but I don't know where we're going to absorb this cost with the population that we have. I mean, we just had a CFO come in here talking about wasteful spending. He also did emphasize that service comes first, but I think this budget here with this helicopter, I don't see where it's justified, because my estimates that I'm hearing from these mechanics, they're saying it's going to be a minimum of $1 million, if not $2.5 million annually. So I think his estimate for the 250 is going to be more like 1,250,000. So I think there's $1 million short there if it's going to be anything in a budget. That being said, I also asked if they're going to be sworn in deputies. He said no, they're going to be civilian. So there's not going to be a sworn deputy on those helicopters. So the Miami officer let me know that that's vital, because when you go to the court of law and they're the eyes and ears of a pursuit, let's just say, they could be challenged in the court of law because they're not really sworn officers.
So you're saying that it should be sworn?
Yes, that's what the Miami
so
officer
a
said.
pilot that's running and on the helicopter should be a sworn deputy, if you will, and you're saying Sheriff Staley says at this point they were just going to have regular pilots?
Yeah, they're actually ex deputies with experience on helicopters. So he's bringing them in, but they're not going to be under the uniform.
Right,
So,
and this is the second helicopter.
yes, Dwight. I wasn't around for the first, but I understood there was some incidents where there was a scene where there was a child missing. They could have used the helicopter, but then, unfortunately, the helicopter happened to be doing some other business outside the area. So when the helicopters needed, but also I think Chief Staley's actually doing the right thing with the drones. I love the fact that he's actually modernizing these pads, and they're like they're like the little, I don't know, I guess they're like 12 feet high, and then they got their own little garage door, and the garage door is going to open, and these trained officers that are federal trained, they will lift off these drones, and then they can do things. Just like the other day, I was just watching. Matter of fact, this morning they actually had a drone on the candidate that was supposed to be the next governor. I guess he was mayor in the local Flagler Beach. I believe that's where he was from as a mayor, and he had always had the pursuit. Well, for some reason, he went the other way and assaulted 2 older women. They had to put a drone in the air, and this drone had the capability to see his movements and everything else through the house. I believe that's what I was hearing. So we don't really need a helicopter. I mean, you've seen what's going on in Ukraine. Unfortunately, we're in this war with Iran. Drones are showing us and changing the elements of everything, war, and even local pursuits or crime scenes. I mean, drones are just amazing anymore.
Right.
And I listened to the sheriff carefully, because as my experience, when he quoted, this is his quote, he said, we can use it for medical, but it would have to be the paramedics' call to use it. My problem with that is a paramedic is licensed, and that helicopter will not be licensed to do a transport like that. So if anything would happen to that patient on the way to the hospital, that paramedic is actually putting his license on the line. Yes, it would be his call, but then you know how the court system works. I mean, if something fails and the family wants to sue for the cause of death on the helicopter because it was not rigged properly for medical reasons.
Well, I think what we're really talking about and what I'm hearing is the cost versus value
Yes.
and the return of that value. And I love to, it's a sad comment, but recently the county commissioners, 5 months ago, I guess, had to write off over $10 million that had been collected, the debt had been collected over about a 5 year period of supporting our ambulance system, because a ride from point A to B, when you need to call an ambulance because you've got a loved one yourself, they come, they're staffed, they get you where you need to go. They're phenomenal in what they do. But there's a cost to it.
Yes.
And the reimbursement from the external payees, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, for those insurances, is far below what the actual cost of running that system. And so it's a net neutral negative every time the county, and by the way, the city assists with that as well, with staffing, putting EMS and trained people. But it's a system we as citizens rely on, are willing to pay for, but know that the county has going to have expenditures for it. So it's that balance of, getting back to the helicopter, how often and what is the numbers of needing a helicopter emergency wise, or security, police work, vice a drone or something, for the long-term cost. And I believe that's what most of the citizens I'm hearing about are asking for, the justification or the transparency.
My question is, would this have had to come before the council, accepting this gift of a helicopter, knowing the amount of money that's gonna be spent on maintenance is gonna fall to the county after that? Did they have any involvement in any of that, or was he just unilaterally said, yes, I want it, and now we'll figure out how to pay for it later?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I've been going to the meetings and I've never seen this be brought up at the commission meeting prior of, he's just, I guess, free willing, approving it as a sheriff, just like I opposed his name on the building because my opinion is, as a veteran and a firefighter, naming a building or naming a street usually goes in the honor of the line of duty. He's still with us today, the sheriff, and he's going to have his name on the building. And that didn't go through proper channels. I mean, that went through planning and zoning with Mr. Adam laterally approving it and coming to the commission meeting and just saying that they approved it. It did not go through any planning and zoning hearings, what side the letters were going to be, or anything like that. It's all usually scrutinized when a business tries to put a sign out front. They go through all kinds of scrutiny, or they're going to have lettering on their building. It goes through a proper zoning. So
Are there other better qualified candidates?
yes, so yeah, there's that's the reason. Another reason why I'm running. You shouldn't really have favoritism. And again, I don't take Staley's service away. He has 50 years of service in law enforcement. But sometimes the commission's are going to have to put him in check because we can't absorb the cost. If we're going to spend that kind of money, I'd rather see 6 or 8 more boots in a deputy.
Right. So to clarify, as I understand the budget criteria, and you and all the other candidates, whether it's Palm Coast or county commissioner, will not get seated till after the 2026, 2027
Yeah,
budget.
budget's already approved. Yep.
But the sheriff's department and the sheriff himself is an elected constitutional representative. The county approves or disapproves his budget, but has no say in the specifics of what he does within that. So it's kind of like the case of the senior daycare is a Flagler County chosen support, like they're partnering with the Humane Society. That is within the county. They're partnering with the other elements that the county decides to spend its money on. Sheriff Staley puts together his own budget, submits it to the county, and approves or disapproves it. And actually, last cycle, they did cut his budget a little bit. There was COLA and some other promotional things that were put in place. And clearly, the conversation is very robust about asking where dollars in the justification. As I understand it, with the sheriff's department, they're not going to get touched. Even if we see a change in our property taxes, police and fire and school, even at the state level, the conversation is those would still need to be supported services like you were talking about. But it's an interesting point of, I think we're seeing a loss, a lack of ability to make your own decisions due to the loss of home rule from Tallahassee. And I constantly hear it, and I know you have too, sitting in the county meetings and in the city meetings, how they have these great ideas, but they know they can't do anything about it because the state is setting criteria and guidelines and expectations, and it's only going to get worse from what I'm understanding of the things coming out. How do you find yourself as a commissioner hearing a citizen or a multitude of citizens talking about the needs that they want and knowing your hands are tied as far as funding or supporting that because it's controlled by the state?
Well, it's just like the bill 180.
Yeah.
They're very concerned about.
SB 180.
SB 180. So, my opinion, researching it and looking at why different representatives of different areas of Florida was pushing hard for that, is because we had hurricanes come through here, and the red tape for these homeowners to get back in their homes, it was taking 3 to 5 years to finally get back in their homes because it's so much red tape. So this bill basically takes, yes, a lot of the zoning and circumvents it by giving the power back to the people so they can get their lives back together. So my problem with my county right now is they're upset that they're losing their power, but they're not bringing anything to the table to show if we would ever get hit by a storm, are we prepared to eliminate the red tape to get people back in their homes? Because you also got to remember, these people are going to still be paying their property taxes on these homes that are destroyed, and I would be very frustrated. I mean, if the county and the state weren't all working together, I think that's what the state's trying to say right now. Is we've got Tampa areas, that whole area was hit hard. St. Petersburg was hit. Those areas were hit hard. And again, I mean, 3 to 5 years to rebuild your life, that's not acceptable.
And I totally agree, but unfortunately, the SB 180 went way beyond that.
Yep.
The intent did not end up being met. It became, my opinion, and I know you live close to the beach. You live on the coast. You have an expectation, like many do, that if a event happens, that because of the taxes and because of the representation that you have, that the government, in this case, county commission, the county, is going to come in and make you whole and help make you right. Very important. Unfortunately, very expensive and impacts all of us. I was telling somebody the other day, I was living in Charleston, South Carolina, when Hurricane Hugo came through many years ago and just decimated the front line of all the homes along the beach area within the county. they didn't have the money to fix it. FEMA didn't have the, so they went and they changed the laws that you can still live there, Ray. You can build your home there, but we're not going to allow you to get any type of insurance. Hoping that that would defer you from rebuilding and rebuilding again and rebuilding again. Well, it went before the courts and the residents won because of the perception of support and commitment. So, but in your case, running as a county commissioner, in which you were trying to serve the residents and knowing this drama between the state and you, between the city, multiple cities and you, why? What is it that do you think that you're going to be able to be value added? You think you can help what's going on with it?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to bring more, especially respect at the podium. I get very upset when I watch people go up there to talk for their 3 minutes that they have. And I notice people, I read their body language and they're nervous, they're shaking, they get off track, I'm sure they prepared for the 3 minutes. But, when you're nervous and you get off track and then next thing you know, your time runs out. And in most cases, when you do your presentation, you have basically your punchline at the end. And sometimes it seems like if they would just be allowed another 30 seconds respectfully, to finish up. And I get very disturbed when I see the county, push you away. I think that's disrespectful because my opinion, when you come up there as the podium, as the taxpayer, you're the boss. Okay, I'm just the steward, voted in. I just try to do my best to implement, to make this place a better place to live.
But you're not going to meet everyone's expectation. There's an old political joke says, if everybody hates you, you must be doing something right. Mm-hmm. Because you're having to make decisions sometimes are really, really tough. Mm-hmm. And in that scenario, I'm wondering, the county commissioners have now entered into what took Palm Coast years to solve in the loss of your administrator, who left for a variety of reasons and surprisingly was picked up by another constitutional individual through, I think, treasurer. She's now working within another part of the county. So now you have a part-time, or somebody wearing multiple hats as the administrator. What do you think the impacts are going to be on that change?
The only problem I have with that, I don't know much about the whole situation, but what I'm upset about is these lateral moves. You had one just recently in Palm Coast, the same thing happened. She went to the school board. The problem I have with that is that there's people in those departments that probably want to move up, and then all of a sudden if somebody comes out from another department and just laterally moves in. I'm not saying she's not qualified, but what about the person that was waiting for 7 years and thinking that would be her or his job, but unfortunately somebody else that has, I guess, I don't know if you want to call it favorability or qualifications, but the thing is, it's not, I think it was not presented properly. My understanding, when I went through my city, that would be something that would have to be posted and everybody would be properly interviewed for that job position. But this seems like this was just automatically done. That's the only problem I have. It just shows there's kind of, it seems like a favoritism going on here in this county.
What?
Yes.
No. Who is it? Andy?
Yeah. It just seems they're not being professional here.
You've had more than one experience with that gentleman just at a private level. Mm-hmm. So what do you need? Right. Where are you at now? You got your petitions done, and now you've got till November for the election. Sit back, see which one of the Republican candidates you're going to be running against. Teresa Ponateri or
Greg Philman.
Rick. Is it Rick Philman?
Greg.
Greg Philman. Don't know too much about either one of those. So, how do you campaign, or what's your plan for the next few months?
Well, I'm going to go back a little bit. When I decided to run here, I asked my wife, and I've been always political. So I asked my wife if I don't run. I've been going to the county meetings. I also been going on 80% of the zoning and planning hearings, where that is the meeting gravy, or where we're going to be going for growth. I wish more people would attend that. But asking my wife for approval, and she gave me the approval, I said to her, just like you just touched base earlier, I'm not going to make everybody happy, okay, and I know that. But the thing is as long as I could go home at the end of the night and lay my head next to my wife, I am good. I just can't. I know that. And just like me in the fire department, I had to accept at times I can't save everybody's life. That's just reality. Also, voters are telling me, what can you do as an independent? I told them what I can do is, again, give you respect at the podium, and also I'm going to be one vote. I will be now one vote. My goal is the long-term vote. If I can show that I am actually working for my citizens of Flagler County as a whole, I'm going to hopefully get 2 more candidates to run and be inspired by my position and get on board, and we can change the 5 board members to 3 board members in the fight to maybe try to slow down the growth. I want to bring sensible growth in. I want to bring in normal communities like where I'm at today. It's everybody's got setbacks, but now the developers are trying to maximize on their properties, and I don't like the way the plans are going, where the eaves almost touch each other on homes. They also want to call it mixed use, where they want to put apartments in. They want to put a 55 4-story development in there. They also want to put a small strip mall. They're doing one on Anderson, John Anderson, and they're going to do one on Summer Woods. Those neighbors are not happy with particularly the strip mall. The strip mall they just see the added impact it's going to bring.
Sure. Yeah, the challenge, and I'm not from Florida, but this perception of property owners' rights here in the state removes a lot of say and control in what someone does with their property. Except for in your case, they're just letting, I've never seen anyone with a story like yours and just trying to do a little change to your personal property. But the arguments that I hear, and I go to a lot of the city council, is these properties that they own or whatever come in, and a lot of them now, due to 180 and others, don't even have to go in front of an approval through a city or a county, because they own the property, they get it approved, it goes through the development board, and they approve it, they get water and utilities, and citizens get no say in those expansions, whether it be apartments or whatever. And I find it's so challenging for me to hear citizens complain about growth and yet elect and continue to elect people and send them to Tallahassee that are doing everything they can to expand growth, which the citizens are complaining about. Do they not realize it? I know the people I've talked to, have you heard the same thing?
What I'm hearing, get my petitions They're not necessarily worried about the normal growth that we did have at one time, where we were building normal residential areas where you had the normal setbacks. Like I said earlier, what's happening is now these developers are asking for variance degrees where, like I said, the eaves are touching each other, and it's just taking the whole normalcy of what a normal development looks like.
Right. So to clarify, a setback is a amount of space that you cannot build beyond to property lines that are adjoining. So a neighbor comes and moves next door in an infill lot, owns the entire lot. But the setback requires, and I think for Palm Coast, it's like 10 feet. So they can't build a home within 10 feet.
I'm personally going through that issue right now, and I'm going to try to make a change in some of the language that we're seeing here. My house was built back in 1979, so there was 2 lots available, and when the gentleman bought the front corner lot, he asked the gentleman if he can have 10 feet of the adjacent lot behind, which is on my deed, and he ended up putting the house back a little further. So where my house sits now is I have a 25-foot setback to the front, and my house sits 27. Now, the way he positioned it and the way my property's laid out, when I was going through this process, I've heard that because I only have 6 feet behind my house now, that I have to meet the new code. So if my house gets, and this is where I'm going with this bill, SB 180, this is why I kind of like it.
I'm sure you do.
Because
Yeah.
when I hear somebody tell me that if my house gets 50% more damage, I have to move my whole house. That means if my slab is still a good slab to rebuild on it, I still have to move it to meet the new requirement. That means I'll also have to move my septic system. Now, my question is, how do I call my insurance company to insure that scenario? It can never happen. But if I do call them, I know they're going to increase my rate because you're talking about moving a whole house.
Right.
I don't understand why they just don't justify that being just grandfathered in. That's the way it was. That was approved by commissioners, signing off, went through. At that point, I don't think they had a zoning and planning committee. So, but the point is, you got a lot of older homes out there, just like these developments now that I'm sitting at right now. I'm sure if you would actually go in and see the new code, you would probably find out you're probably in the same position. So if these homes ever got damaged, you might be moving your house to meet the new code requirements.
Right. So what he's describing is one of the things within SB 180, state bill, or now law, SB 180 is, in the case of Raymond's house, he lives in unincorporated out on the beach off of A1A. The house was built in 1979.
79.
If that house gets damaged to a point where it has to be completely rebuilt, the requirement would be have to meet today's zoning issues, which is extremely difficult for a lot of the older homes that were here. They weren't designed, as he's pointed out. And that's really what I think the intent of SB 180 was to say, hey, due to no fault of your own, your home gets damaged, you need to build it back to the condition it was in without having to meet most of the newer zoning requirements. Makes perfect sense. Mm-hmm. As long as it's safe and that can, it meets whatever the requirement. If you lose your home, I don't think they're going to put old aluminum wiring back in again. They'll fix that. So that was a good thing. So trying to fit your situation, and these kind of issues are what the county sees almost weekly from unincorporated homes in Flagler County, especially along the beach, but in other areas where the owners are trying to do something and today's rules don't fit what they're trying to do. And so they need variances. They need, and almost, I would hasten 90% of these kind of things end up with variances, just like the neighbor you had. And that's a lot of what I think you're going to be exposed to as a city or a county commissioner.
Yes.
And that's what's frustrating. Is that one of the driving things that caused you to want to participate?
Yeah, I was at a meeting this past week where I talked briefly on, at the end for public comment, I let them know that they and many people have said it, they failed just on the lower end of Flagler County, and the Palm Coast is seeing the same thing. They're not properly doing due process. One gentleman will get that waiver, and the next gentleman won't get the waiver. You can't have that type of process. Also, what they're doing is they claim they follow Robert's rules, and I understand it's not a law. You know, I talked to Sarah, their assistant attorney, and we talked about that. And in my case, you know, I ended up having 3 ties in my decision. Now I'm going back to planning and zoning because when I appealed it in front of the commissioners so they can make a decision and vote on it. That process was another shock to me because I had an attorney present, and my attorney didn't even get his closing arguments, which was shocking to me because I faced that before I brought my attorney in a hearing with the same situation with planning and zoning where I didn't have rebuttal. That's what I meant by rebuttal. So you go through the process, you open up what you want to do. Well, first the county opens up and gives them the breakdown of what's going on here and what you can and cannot do, advising the board. In my situation, they gave me all my variances, but I didn't need a height variance. But for some reason, they're restricting me to build this building that I'm trying to build for my pump system for my pool to 4 feet. And there is no height restriction for a structure, for building such a structure. So my attorney tried to argue that, but to get off that subject there, it's just I have my hearing tomorrow.
Oh,
So my attorney will be present. I am bringing a contractor with me this time to argue the point. If I would have went with a contractor, I probably wouldn't be here today arguing that point because the contractor would have argued as a contractor pulling the permit. I'm pulling the permit as a property owner, and I'll explain really briefly why I do that. We have the same law in Pennsylvania where a property owner is equal to a contractor. That's how it reads in the state of Florida. So when I pull my permits, I'm equal to GC. That being said, here in Florida, we have a lot of contractors that take the money and they run, or they don't give you a good quality service. So early on, if I would start seeing that with my contractor, I hold the permits, not the contractor. So if I fire the contractor leaves with that permit. Now I have to go through the whole process again, okay? But it seems to me I can't say honestly that's what I'm going through, but that's what the contractors come in to say. If they would have done it, it would have been a simple process, done.
right.
Okay, because they will argue, hey, you can't put a 4 feet restriction on it. But for some reason, I am being pulled and tugged. I don't know if it's because the way I'm going through the process of pulling it as a property owner, because they haven't really said any words that would say that they're falling on that line. But it appears, optics
Right.
appears that way.
Right.
This is costing me, talking about hardship, this is costing me dearly to bring an attorney when this should be a simple due process. I pay a fee to go through a simple due process. Unfortunately, we have board members that are arbitrating out of thin air that my structure needs to be 4 feet.
Right.
And then I have a neighbor that is actually disputing at the hearing, which I didn't even spoke on. They didn't even allow her to do public comment, even though I had the poster board. And So that being said, I went up there and spoke on her behalf, saying that I don't need any more darkness or shadows over my file. I respect that she has the opportunity to do process, to do public comment.
Right.
I don't know why they're restricting.
So the message here, as far as this conversation, is Raymond is in the thick of it, going through the processes that you, any citizen in the county, will be faced with these challenges. And so because of the experiences that you're going through now and have gone through, you're able to bring more of a knowledgeable conversation to what you feel the needs of the county. And that's the important message, not the detail, not the issue. Simply, he just wants to put a pool next to his house so that he can exercise. That's the simple part of this conversation. But the mechanics and the necessity and hiring an attorney and going through years of cost to get a pool approved for his home makes him extremely knowledgeable. And knowing, because you've learned it the painful way, to have that conversation, understand the processes. And that's why you've stepped in. That's why you've thrown your hat in the ring, because you see where it can be made better. And I think that's important, that we as voters need to understand who we're voting for and what we get if we're elected. Raymond Royer is a knowledgeable person with extensive background and has had true experiences in the challenges within the county. And I think that's the important message that you want to send. So, final thoughts, things, what is it that you want somebody to know? How can they reach you? How can they donate to you? How can they support your campaign?
Okay. Well, right now, since I'm not in the primary, I'm in the process to get my websites up.
Okay.
I actually have my Facebook page kind of closed because I
You're in
have to get-
Facebook jail?
Yeah, not closed. I'm not in jail.
Oh.
It's just that I have it closed, so you have to be a friend.
Oh, I
It's not
see.
open to the public. But that being said, I have to open up to X. I have to do TikTok. That's just the process I need to, so I can get more people to know who I am. But I'm working on that, and I'll be working on that during the primary process. That gives me time while the other two candidates are going through their debates and all that other stuff, and trying to prove who is the best out of the Republican Party. I also, I do bring experience. I did Navy for the national level, for my country. And, and I became a firefighter at the age of 35 after I did some trades. I was a laborer, I was a steel worker, and I also was a pipe fitter. And then I became a firefighter at the age of 35, going back to boot camp, at 35. So I was the old man going back to boot camp. I take service seriously. So right now I lost about 15 pounds. I'm going to get down to 200. I'm going to get my body and my mental mind ready for this. I've been telling people I don't know if this is going to be as grateful as the other two services that I had because of the politics. Now, we have politics in every aspect of our lives, but this is going to be in the belly of politics. So I'm going to get, like I said, my mind, my visual, and I do Tai Chi. I meditate, and that being said, I'm ready to go. Like I said, I can lay my head at the end of the night next to my wife. I know I'm not going to make everybody happy, but I want to bring due process. I want to bring a fair process. And again, like I said, when you come to the podium, you're the boss. I'm going to give you respect. I'm not going to roll my eyes and make comments after you walk away and you don't have a chance to rebut what those comments were made. I'm not going to comment after you make your statement because it's not respectful to make a gesture like that.
We could use more,
Respect for the days.
I don't even know what the word is. Well, Ray, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, Raymond Royer, 2nd District County Commissioner seat. Remember that name. He's there. He'll be available. Reach out to him. Remember, you need to like and subscribe and leave some comments. Let us know what's going on. I'm in the process of trying to bring as many candidates as I can. If you have a question or you heard about a candidate you want me to reach out to, I will do my best. So listen, every day is a dramatic day. Keep your mind on the prize. It's you, your health. Make sure that you take a breath, practice all those great things that Raymond is sharing, and we're all going to get through this. So with that, I'll see you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.